Hi everyone, welcome to this space created for you. And also this space that we would like to also talk about something that we mostly don't talk in a grieving process. Remember that Sure for Life is in a space and also created for you and also for all the members that are part of this program and this company. My name is Mariana Zapata and I am psychologist from Assure for Life. Today we're going to talk about the grieving process, and also we constantly talk about the grieving topics. We would like to also talk about one specific phase of the grieving. Remember that we create this space for learning and knowledge, and if you would like to know a little bit more of different topics, you can also leave your suggestions and comments in our YouTube channel. Let's begin with this topic. How are we going to talk about the disease or even the death in our family and also in a personal way? The grieving process has different phases and also different topics. Sometimes we don't realize about that topics and about that phases in the moment that we are living, because we live naturally, and that kind of things they no have any name, or even we don't realize about that in a specific during the grieving process, because we are living a deep pain and suffering, and for that reason we can see all the view and also all the picture that we are living. For that reason we call this conference Navigating Grieving Process, or navigating grief together at a personal and family agreements. Let's talk about the topic and also how we're going to deal with that phase, that specific phase when we have to talk about what we're going to do in this moment of grieving. We would like to introduce a question for you. I know that many of you have experienced deep pain or even a loss of a loved one, or even an important breakup of a relationship. If you live that kind of situation, it's the same like say you lost a meaningful person of your life. If you experience that situation, we would like to ask you if you ever live that kind of situation when you start to question to yourself if you only, or even I had doing something before, or if I maybe talk with that person, or even if I didn't give the permission to the person to go out at night, all the things will be different. Or even if I did something wrong and also the person go out of the home angry with you, and all the things will be different. Even the person will not death. But it's something that we start to question and also say to ourselves without reason, without any specific reason, and also in an irrational way, because that kind of questions are not necessary and are not possible to change in this moment, because our loved one have died. For that reason, we would like to introduce you to this topic with that specific situation. If you already lived that kind of experience, if you say to yourself that kind of things, that's normal, and also that is the phase that we're going to talk right now about, how we're going to deal with that kind of situation and with that kind of questions in this phase of the grieving process. The stage of the grieving process that we named right now is the dealing or path phase. We would like to introduce that phase with this quote: we day dreamed about what we could do not avoid what happened. Then appears the if there were. If I could do something, if I can see that person, if I can even say something more, if I even could do something at that moment. We start to fantasize about what we could have done or what happened at the moment. And we start to rememorize that situation in different pictures and imaginations that we have. Imagine how we're going to go with the other phase of the grieving process if we stay just thinking about the things that will never happen again. But it's normal because we start to deal with something that always will appear in the grieving, and is the guilt. We start to feel guilt in the grieving process, and it's because we think that maybe we must do something different. We have to understand that this is normal because we feel a lot of pain when we have to talk about the reality. And that situation, or even that practice of fantasize, stops and avoid a little bit the pain of the grieving. So we have to understand that impact of loss becomes with a lover different grief plays tricks in on us, like something that will make you stop, or even don't let you to give the other step to the other grieving phase. So we have to realize when we are living that kind of situations, and also as we already talked about the shock, the first phase of the grieving, or even the denial, now we are living the dealing phase, when we're going to understand the reality, and we stop a little bit to stop to fantasize, and we start to see the reality and the possibilities, even in this situation that we have to maybe change what happened. Let's talk about simple examples about that dealing process, or even that fantasized situations that we live completely in this moment. We have to talk about what the kind of things we have to deal in this phase. We deal with our mind, the pain way out, while thinking how different or wonderful everything will be if the loss have not happened. That is the phase that we have to see if you are living right now. If you are thinking about the loss, and even if you can change something about that situation, that in a specific way is what we are talking right now. And we have to deal with different arranged changes, because we don't only fantasize with our situation and our personal situation. We don't only deal with the guilt in this only personal way. We have to deal with different situations, like you start to deal with yourself, and then you start to deal with others around you. And sometimes you start to deal other persons and other situations. You start to say, hey, maybe if my children didn't have that kind of bonds with that kind of people that was so dangerous, maybe my son will be alive right now. And you start to guilt the other people, but at the same time you start to guilt to yourself. Maybe I was a bad mother because I didn't care about that kind of friends that he had. And that is common, to guilt to yourself and then guilt to the others. Other situation that you can also live is when you maybe was so angry with the deceased at the moment that he died, and you start to guilt yourself, and you say, why I get mad for that stupid thing, or even it was not important. And then you start to guilt to the other person, and you say, hey, but I know that he was an angry person and he was so curious to talk. So you start to understand and say, that will be happening different if I do it, or I think if I can do something different. That is in a personal and an external vision of that fantasy of something that you don't do. But we have to also recognize that you start to deal with that spiritual and belief stage of yourself. And in many situations, you can start to guilt to God and say to God that He didn't listen to your prayers. And sometimes you can start to say that it was unfair with you or with your family or with the people that is around you. And in that situation, you start to say, if God even listened to my prayers, this will be different, or He will take different decisions. Sometimes that kind of situations start to appear in a natural way and on a conscious way, because you don't know that situation how completely happened. After the time of the disease start to be like 1 or 2 weeks, then you start to realize that they're not guilty, or even they're not somebody to give or even share that guilt. You have to first start to dealing with your pain and with your reality, then understand that the others maybe have something to do with the death or not, and realize that maybe the people is not or don't have the responsibility of that death, and also God is not responsible of that death. The death is something normal and natural that we have to live, but the ways that it comes to our lives is the way that we have to recognize the situation and also realize how we can deal with that. We always wish that we don't have to experience the death of our loved one committed while they was in an accident or in a murder, something that maybe is aggressive or violent. But we have to also understand that we can never be sure of that. What we have to always do is increase our proof and also our way to see this reality, the death, and also the situation of lose someone that is so important for me. For that reason, we would like to also tell you that if you stay in that hands, in that fantasy, where you just only guilt to yourself or the others or maybe God, there will come some consequence. The consequence we're going to have in a real situation, because that real situation will give us some signs of what we are doing may be wrong in this grieving process. That is normal and that is natural, but it's necessary that we realize if we are in this stage. Hinders the grieving process. Hinder the grieving process is that moment where you can even go out of that situation and you try to avoid or even isolate yourself, thinking about all the situations or different situations that maybe will happen. And you start to even fantasize about all the things that maybe will happen, and you can even realize the new reality and also take new decisions and change your habits, or even take care of your loved ones that once are alive. Increase anger and guilt. If you still thinking about that situation, your brain start to believe that you must do something for change that. And remember that you can change the reality of the sea, because that already happened. We can change the past. Every one of us, we would like to change something that we already did in the past that we don't feel proud or even we feel guilt. But we have to understand that it's something like this, like the death, is something that we can control. Will come naturally. Sometimes in the past we was an angry person or even a controlling person, and now we would like to change that reality, and we can, so we can see the past and learn in the present. But now, with this situation, when we lost a loved one, we have to understand that this is something that we can change, and we can go to the past and say, hey, this will be different. So if you stay fantasizing, maybe will be increasing the guilt and anger. Make it a difficult face the reality. If your brain stays in that stage of just fantasizing about a different situation that maybe will be better, you can also see the reality and the new situations that you have to face. This will make you to see the life like something that already happened. And sometimes you stay on a stage of nostalgic person, nostalgic memories. And if you stay in that stage, you cannot progress. You cannot go through other situations and see the value of the life, and also the value of the people that is around you, supporting you or listening to you. Now, to close this topic and also the consequences, we would like to introduce this quote about dealing with thoughts and fantasy that don't coincide with the actual reality. Is exhausting work for our mind and our body. It's important to recognize that if your mind is still fantasizing, then your body and your physical health will be affected directly, and you can avoid that kind of situations. For that reason, we always invite you to recognize the new reality and see what kind of things you are doing in the same way, and then start to go and do little steps to the growing and to the improving. Knowing this and introducing that quote, we would like to tell you a little bit more about how to face this grief stage. Before to talk about the keys that we prepare for you, we would like to also talk about the agreements that we start sometimes to do before the death. Sometimes when we have to face with this kind of situations, we have to do some agreements with the people that go before us. Before the death, there's so many people that do some agreements, implicity and explicity. Sometimes some partners or even husbands create an agreement just with the words, like normal promises. And they say, if you go first, take me with you later. And that kind of agreements are something that they say in a explicit way, but it's not something that they promise. And like you say, I promise that I will be with you the rest of my life. But they explicitly say that I will be you until the day of my days. And they create that kind of agreements, and they say and they believe it. And in a moment when the loved one death, when the loved one die, the person that is still alive start to say, hey, I have to complete that agreement. In an implicit way, the person start to, or even have agreement or a promise with the person that they even say it or repeat it to themselves in a different way. Like, I can live without the person, I can't even be happy without the person that I lost. And they start to believe that agreement or that promise. And even to face this reality will be worse and difficult because they have that agreement before the death. There also sometimes you will find some agreements as a family. That is important to introduce to the topic because in this phase of the grieving, as a family, you can create an agreement together, like start to say and understand that you can change this reality, and also create an agreement talking about the death one, about something that he or she loved to do in the common life. If that person tells to the family something important before the death, like continue with my project, continue with my company, or take care of my daughter, or take care of your sister, that is something that could be a familiar or personal agreement. You can take it and also understand that that will help you to see this new reality immediately, like something that you can face, because you will complete that legacy with that dead person, or even of the legacy of your loved one. That is a familiar or personal agreement that you can start to create, and also that will introduce you to face the next phase of the grief. Because now you are now fantasizing, you are accepting the reality, and when you accept the reality, you start to complete different activities, and then you start to think how you're going to goal or achieve that project or that commitment that you have with the loved one that now is deceased. For that reason, now we would like to give you some strategies to face this grief stage, because this is the shortest phase of the grieving, but is the ones that makes us feel like confused and we don't know how to complete it in the best way. One of the keys that we have for you now is avoid daydreaming about what is not real or possible. Like I said before, stop to dream about something that maybe will be better or different right now. Try to also understand what is happening around you, and also understand that something now is different. You don't have to act like nothing happened and now everything is normal at the beginning or as it was before, but it's like that exercise to understand this is truth, and this is something that I can change. How I'm going to now start to live and accept the pain and suffering that I am feeling. The other is connect with the present. Connect with the present is connect what we are doing right now, or even if you are doing something differently in your routine, something that you really enjoyed a lot and now you stopped to do it, but it's necessary because it's part of your routine. Remember that we talk about this every conference about the grieving, because it's important to recognize that we need a space for everything, a space to feel the grief, and a space to feel and also live our lives. We can stop to do the things that we normally did, even if we feel pain, because we need to connect with something that makes us feel used and also connect with life. Adapt to the new reality. This is step by step. Adapt to the new reality is recognize that kind of things that you recognize that maybe you can never could do anymore in a physical way. Like we always tell you, we will remaining the people that is now with us in this world or physical world. And sometimes we have to change the roles and we have to change some activities that the other person did at the moment. If that person go to the market, or even if the person go to work with you, you can stop to do that activities and recognize that now you're going to do it alone, or maybe you can ask for the help of other person to complete that task, or even with you completing that task. Make agreements to adapt to the new life. Make that agreements is not only with you. You need also to talk with the family and also with other people that it was so important for the person. Maybe a close friend or even maybe a partner. If you have that agreements with you, like I'm going to be that person that can confirm that this situation, that I am the person that I can start to deal with this and live the life that I would like to live, and also that person will like to see me commitment that even having that dreams and living that dreams. It's important to complete that agreements and start to do it in your common life and also in your new life. For that reason, that are some agreements that you can start to do in a personal way. Agreements for learning to live without our loved ones in a personal way or at the personal way will be welcoming to the new reality. Welcoming to the new reality is the moment when you accept the reality without the changes. And I can talk about the next or the last grieving phase, and it's this one: acceptance. Accept the new reality. It's different to the last phase of the grieving, because in the last grief phase we accept and we remaining the person that now is not with you. But in this situation, to go to the other phase and start to live again your life in a better way and also in a healthier way, you need to give that welcome to this reality, even with the pain, even with the sadness, even with the angry. Accept and also see it how is impacting you and how is that make you feel. Welcome that reality is accepted like it is. Trading healthier copy strategies. This is something that we always advise to you in every conference about the grief. Try to always have the healthy habits and also recognize something that you are doing different, and even that you stop to do, and because you don't like to do it, because that kind of things remember you to that person. So you can start to change that habits and introduce something new. Then also you can enjoy it, and then you can start to see other ways and enjoy different spaces during the grieving process. Other advice will be a mind to be resilient. Resilient is that possibility to willing and commitment over mean challenges. Is that possibility and that attitude to face something that is so difficult to understand and accept, but in the way also improve your personality, your self, and even improve not only to yourself but also the people that is around you, your family, your community, your friends. That is the way that we can recognize as humans, and also recognize that you can have different people around you that can inspire to you and also support to you. Remember to be resilient in this situation. Giving your best every day, being more sensitive, being more understanding, and more active with these personal thoughts. Remember that you can start like a person that says to themselves that are capable or even have the ability to recognize these kind of situations that makes you feel a lot of pain. Now that you can start to recognize that good thoughts and healthy thoughts will give you the chance to live every day with the memories and with the feelings that you can experience. Some people feel so frustrated because they remember that departed loved one, and they feel frustrated because they say, I still feeling pain, I still feeling sad, I can't stop to cry. And it's normal. There's not a specific time to go through the grieving, but it's something that we have to understand, that we have to live in the moment. Because after, if you live all the important loss, you can start to add different or even to grieving process without being completed, and that moment will be worst when it comes. Other advice that we have is honor the deceased. Honor the deceased with the principles and values at the first moment. Then with the time you can start to have different situations and also meetings where you can honor your deceased. But if you lost a person that was so inspired or strong, and you recognize that values, and also you would like to complete that legacy and be that person who can face and inspire to others, because you would like to have all that kind of values and principles in yourself. Start to honor it, that person, your mother, your father, or your grandfathers, in that way. Recognize that kind of values and principles that you would like to have and increase and improve, or even that you already have, but now in this grieving process you are not living, you are not doing. You can start to honor it to him or to her, to him or she in that way. Remember that principles and apply it in your life. Give quality to your life. We would like to give you that advice, and we add it because it is the way that you can continue a healthy life with those people that are not around you. that is possible. It's not a such selfish way to see the grieving process. It's the way that we can take care of ourselves in this moment. Also, there are agreements at a family level. This is different because you have to share some situations and some points of view in this stage, in this phase of the grieving. One of them is share your life with those around you. Why we talk about this sometimes is so obviously, but there are people that start to isolate or even decide to live alone this grieving process. We always like to introduce you to this advice with the purpose of just support together and talk about these agreements like something that you need as a family and also as a persons that are living a deep pain. Restructure roles and functions. We talk about the roles and the functions in different and in many conferences because the agreement is part of this. The agreement process is the way that you can start to talk about something that is not common, that is something that you don't feel comfortable to talk and deal with the others. Because it is so painful to talk about how we're going to talk or even pay some bills with that person that had that responsibility. So sometimes we need to talk about that even with the shock of that new. We have to recognize that and start to change the uncomfortable feeling about talk about the new role, the new activities, the new responsibilities. I know that is a taboo that the people have to talk about something that makes us feel so worried or even something that are just material. But that depends for us the way that we can improve our lives. If you are not worrying about something important to deal and to face in your reality, then you can start and also have your space to feel your grieving because now you know that you have this situation controlled and resolved, and then you will have the time to feel the pain, to feel the sadness, and to have different situations. But it's important to restructure the roles, the activities, and the responsibilities that maybe the deceased have before. Supporting without living or encouraging. We always talk about being supporting people and being a supporting family. But this is something that not most of the people are ready to do. The ones that have the ability to support and to understand the pain could be the ones that can teach to the others how to be supporting people, even as a familiar space. One of the agreements is that you can even support in the worst moment and accept and talk about some feelings that are not common or even that we are not ready to deal and face, like the angry or even the deep sadness. Sometimes there are people that don't feel that deep pain or that control with their feelings, and you can also feel frustrated and say that person never loved my parent or never loved my mother. I am angry with he or I am angry with she because I don't feel supporting with that person. So that is common to happen, and the family stop to support each other. Don't stop to support each other and try to have different spaces to talk about your feelings and how you are living this stage. And other advice that we have for you is talking without inhibitions, myth, or taboos. It's the same example like we talk about the roles and responsibilities because sometimes there are topics that the people are not ready to talk. But it's not only the roles and the responsibilities, it's also the way that the people death. If it was in a violent way or it was for illness, many people stop to talk about that situation in that way that the person died because it's so painful for them, or even they feel that is something that they can face or they can deal. And it's something that maybe will repeat it with the time. If you don't help and even if you don't talk about that situation, it's important to talk about the person who dies and also the way that he died, because you can prevent other illness or other same situation that will tell you, hey, we can stop these kind of situations, repeat it again. We don't like to live again these situations that makes us feel a deep pain. The way that you can stop that same situation is to talk about that uncomfortable situation. I know that there are families that feel shame about some topics and they feel they can't talk about the way one of the members dies, but talk about that will be the way that the family will connect with that situation, and most of the times will stop it, that situation, and that will not repeat it again. Other advices that we have is support each other in anguish time. Try to have a sign alarm if one of the parties or even one of the family members or friends are having this excessive feeling like sadness or angry, or even when you don't have one answer or you don't have the way to see other reality, other possibility. That angustious time are commonly come when you have a person that goes of your life that have so many responsibilities or it was so important for the family. Try to support each other mostly in that time, and also talk each other and even recognize when you are needing more spaces to talk about the death and also create agreements. And the last advice that we would like to provide you is encourage the help. Encourage the help is remember that you have always different options. You always have different options or different networks. If you don't feel comfortable talking with your family, you can seek for the support of your friends, partners, or even government professionals or different people that will with you in this process. If you lived a situation that was so difficult for you to accept, to see, and to recognize, try to look if you are stopping and you are changing your routine and your habits, and look for the support if you recognize that you are suffering every moment. We would like to close this topic with this quote. It's important to make agreements that help to face the loss in a healthy way, avoiding prolonging the first grief stages and minimizing the negative impact it can have on health and quality of life. Remember that you can still have a quality of life if you are living a grieving process. It's not a fantasy, and it's not something that we create in our mind. It's something that we can understand, like it's part of the life feel pain, it's part of the life lost a meaning person, but all the kind of things that are part of our lives will be also something that I can use and also I can learn and grow with. It's important to recognize that you have this strength to see and face these kind of situations. For that reason, we would like to introduce you to our different networks that we have for you if you need to support, or if you need the support of our professional staff, or if you need to talk about this topic, or if you only would like to know a little bit more about this and apply some strategies and advices. Remember that we have this YouTube channel where you can find our conference about the different topics that we choose for you, about quality of life, about grieving. Also, we have different networks like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel. If you subscribe to these different social medias, or even the networks that we have open for you, you will have the notification that will tell you when we add a different topic, or when we're going to have a different conference. We will have our next conference on April. The first one we will be in April 10th, and it's about life in partnership after 60. It's about the elderly. And we were going to have other conference on April 24th, and it's navigating grief together, exploring the journey of acceptance. That will be the last phase of the grieving, and we're going to have in the next 20 or even 30 days. Remember that if you are a member of A Cheerful Life, you have the benefit of 3 psychological counseling sections for every grief process that you are living in the year. And also you will have other counseling session for any other reason per year. Remember, you can contact us to WhatsApp or email us. Or if you are not a member of A Cheerful Life, you have the different networks that I already told you. And we see the next April 10th with the topic about the elderly. And we would like to tell you that A Cheerful Life is what we all deserve. Also in the grieving process, also in the pain and suffering that we can experience in this situation. We see you in the next conference, and thank you so much.